Most people think that building an AI agent requires knowing how to code. It doesn't, and in this video, I'm going to prove it because I'm going to be building a fully working AI agent workflow automation from scratch, live on screen, and I'm going to be showing you each step of the way. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a fully working AI agent workflow automation and the knowledge on how to build out more on your own using Claude Code. But real quick, before we start building everything I'm about to show and use in this video, so the Claude.md file, the master prompt, the full setup, I've made all of it available to download for free inside of my free school community. So if you want to follow along and not have to type anything yourself, the link for that is going to be down in the description below. Grab that and then come back. So we're going to be building our agentic AI using Claude Code. This is Anthropic's AI coding agent. And I know I said coding agent, but I promise you, you're not going to have to write a single line of code because Claude Code does all of that for you. Your job is simply to just explain what you want in plain English and the agent does the rest. So the first thing you need is VS Code, which stands for Visual Studio Code. So just go to Google, type in VS Code, you'll find a page like this. Download it, it's completely free, and you'll be good to go. So once you've got VS Code installed and you open it up, it's gonna take you to a page like this. Now, I know it might look a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, I'm gonna show you exactly what to click. So first things first, we need to install the Claude Code extension in order to actually use Claude Code. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see these cube icons. Click on that, that's for extensions. And in the search bar here, just type in Claude Code. You'll see it on the top right here, Claude Code for VS Code. Simply install it for your VS Code. Once you've got that installed, it's going to prompt you to log in with your Anthropic account. So go ahead and do that. And you'll also need to purchase either the Pro or Max plan in order to actually use Claude Code. So once you've done that, you're going to see a little Claude Code icon in the top right here, and that will open the chat window on the right here. And this is where all the magic happens. But before we start, we actually need to open up a project for the Claude Code agent to work with. So in order to do that, let's just close out of this and click on these two file icons in the top left here. This is the Explorer, and you'll see that we have nothing opened yet. So just go ahead and click on Open Folder and simply just create a new folder for your project. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create one called Agentic AI Demo, create that, and select this folder. And there we go. Now you'll see that it's taken me to this welcome page again. So let's open up the Claude Code agent, close out of this. And now this is where we're going to begin. So we have our blank slate on the left here. We have no files currently open, and we have our Claude Code agent on the right here. Now, here is one of the most important steps when starting a new project, and it's something that a lot of people forget to add, and it's what leads to really inconsistent and messy results. And that is a Claude.md file. Now, let me explain what this actually is because it's really important to get this right in order to actually get good and consistent results. Think about onboarding a new hire. You wouldn't just throw them into work on day one with zero context. You'd sit down with them, explain how things work, set expectations, show them the file structure, tell them how you want them to communicate. You're basically just getting them up to speed before they start their job. A Claude.md file is that onboarding document. It tells Claude Code exactly how you want it to operate inside this project, what structure to use, how to handle errors, how to organize files, how to communicate with you, all of it. And without this file, the agent is still going to work, but you're going to get more varied results. And you may have to prompt a lot more in order to actually get the results that you're looking for. Okay, so enough talking about it. Let's actually go ahead and create this Claude.md file. So on the left-hand side here in the Explorer, right-click, click on New File, and type in Claude.md. Now, I'm not going to make you write this from scratch, but I've basically created a master prompt for the Claude.md file here. Basically, it goes through everything I mentioned previously. So the structure, how to organize the files, how to handle errors, how to communicate with you, all of that, all is listed in this document right here. Now, if you want to grab this for yourself to just copy and paste, you'll find it in my free school community down below. Grab that and you can use it for your project. First of all, this is a markdown file, which means that it's going to have a little bit of a different structure in order to highlight importance on certain words and phrases. So for example, hashtags is just to signify that this is a title, and you'll see asterisks here. This is to make the word bold. So if you want to actually see what this markdown file looks like, you can right click on the file and click on Open Preview. So this is a more human readable view, but we'll view it in the Claude.md file like this because this is probably what you're going to be seeing majority of the time. So first we tell Claude exactly what its core philosophy is, and that is orchestration. So you read intent, plan a path, call the right scripts, and handle what goes wrong. The scripts do the deterministic work. And here we lay out the architecture, so the workflows, the agent, and the scripts. So the workflows are markdown files which will specify the exact goal and the inputs required in order to handle a certain task. Think of it like a set of instructions, exactly like this file right here. It'll be a markdown file and it'll be a set of instructions on what needs to be done. There's the agent that coordinates the task. That's you, the Claude Code agent. So they will read the workflow and then execute the scripts. And if something breaks, then the Claude Code agent would fix it by itself and handle any errors and any changes that need to be made. Then there's the scripts themselves. So these are the actual files that will execute the tasks. They can be Python files or TypeScript files, whatever it may be. They're the scripts that actually handle the execution of whatever needs to be done. And then here we outline some operating principles. So reuse before you build. So we don't want Claude to just constantly make a ton of new files. We want it to reuse existing files. We want to follow the workflow, not your instincts. So this is so we can get more predictable outcomes rather than getting different results for the same prompt. Escalate before spending. So if we are doing anything that involves paid API calls where we're actually spending money, then we want Claude Code to confirm any changes with us before, testing any workflows or making any changes that could cost us more money. And then we specify how we want Claude Code to handle errors. So, read the full error message, fix the root cause in the script, retest it before moving on, update the workflow with what you've learned. So after it fixes an error, then it will go back to the workflow files and fix it in there so that the error doesn't happen the next time we try to execute something. The goal is that every failure leaves the system more robust than it was before. And then we have a system here keeping the system current. So workflows should reflect how the system actually works, not how it was originally designed. So let's say we create a workflow initially, but then we discover a better method later on. We want to come back to the workflow and update it so it reflects the new system. And then we have a directory reference section right down here. So this is basically just outlining the structure of our project for Claude Code to understand. So we have a workflows folder, a scripts folder, a temp folder, a .env file, and a credentials.json and token.json file. And these are, for the secret API keys and whatnot. So let's kick off our project by telling Claude to simply initialize everything. Hey Claude, I just dropped in a CLAUDE.md file that explains how I want you to work on this project. Read it, analyze it, and begin initializing the project. Okay, there we go. So we've got our prompt. Let's send that off and get Claude started on building our project. So you can see here that it says allow this PowerShell command. Basically, Claude is asking for permission to create new folders. So our workflows folders, our scripts folder, and our temp folder. Simply just click yes, or you can click yes and allow it for all the projects. But if you actually wanted to simply make the changes on its own without you having to give it permission every single time, then I would recommend using a permission mode called bypass permissions, which I'll show you how to activate in just a second, because you can see here it's asking for permission again, and this can just take up some time. So click yes, and it'll be right here, bypass permissions. But if you don't have access to that, which you probably won't if you just installed VS Code, go down to the bottom left right here. You'll see settings, click on settings, and type in Claude, and you'll see right here, Claude Code allow dangerously skip permissions, and simply enable that. Don't worry, I know that sounds scary, but as long as you don't do anything stupid, like tell Claude to delete entire folders and whatnot, then you'll be fine. So there we go. So we can see that it is done now. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see a temp folder, a scripts folder, a workflows folder, and the other files that we've mentioned earlier, so like the .env file. So now that we have our project ready to go, let's switch the mode into plan mode instead of bypass permissions. This will simply allow Claude to think more highly when analyzing our prompt so that it can come up with a full plan before it starts to execute. So it'll ask you a whole bunch of questions, find out exactly what you want before it starts building, and this will make sure that you get a much more perfected result, what you're looking for. So I always recommend to use this plan whenever you start a new project, because you can read the entire plan that it gives you and specify anything from the beginning in order to prevent you from having to re-prompt later on. Hey Claude, I want you to build me a workflow that collects the top news, stories, and headlines from the past day from major news sources such as BBC, Reuters, Associated Press, and any other news pages. Once it's collected, I want you to write me a clean summary of the top 10 stories and then email that to me every day at 10 a.m. Ask me any clarifying questions before you start building and tell me anything that you might need in order to actually get this working. Okay, there we go. So we have our prompt. Let's send that off and let's get it started building the plan. Okay, so here we have our first question. How do you want to send the email? This determines what goes into the .env file. For this, we're going to use Gmail app password. So I'll show you how to set that up. How should the news be fetched? Both options are free. The difference is reliability versus setup. Let's just do, no API key needed. Let's do RSS feeds. What time zone should the 10 a.m. delivery use? Let's just use US Central. What format should the email digest be? Let's have it in HTML so that it can be styled quite nicely. So let's submit that and it's going to continue building the plan and it might even ask us more questions. Okay, there we go. So now it's finished creating its own plan, and before we click yes and accept, I'd recommend that you read exactly what it wants to implement. So plan daily news digest workflow, build a recurring automated workflow that fetches the top headlines from major RSS feeds, uses Claude to summarize the top 10 stories, and emails an HTML digest to our email every day at 10 a.m. Now, we didn't specify exactly what email we wanted it to send it to, so it just used one that it found on my computer. So let me actually go ahead and tell it to change the plan to send it to a different email. So you can see sometimes that it won't get exactly what you want, but you just keep prompting it, telling it what you want, and it'll make all the changes that you need. Okay, so it went ahead and made that change, and now it's going to get started making the entire plan. So you click yes, accept plan, and it'll go through and build out the entire plan for you. And there we go. So now it's done. So before you can run it, fill in .env. So this is where we're going to need to specify all the API keys and the email address and whatnot that you want to send it to. So let's go ahead and open that .env file. And in here, it's already created the key names for you. You just need to fill in the values. So Gmail user, let's put in learn@growsimpler.com. Email to learn@growsimpler.com. And we also want to fill in the Gmail app password and the Anthropic API key. So let me show you how to get those. So simply just go on Google, go to the top right and click on manage your Google account, and it'll take you to a page like this. Simply type in app passwords in here and you will see a page that you can go to right here, app passwords. If you don't see this, then it likely means that you don't have two-factor authentication turned on for your Google account. So you'll need to turn that on first before you get to see this option. So go ahead and click on app passwords and log into your account. Now it'll take you to a page like this, and we just want to give our app a name. So let's just name this daily news, something like that. Click create, and it's going to show you a app password for your device. This is going to be a sensitive key, so don't share this with anyone or publicize it. Copy that, and when you click done, you're never going to see this key again, so make sure you have it copied. Then you want to bring that key back into here, into your .env, and simply paste that into here and remove these spaces in between the words. And there you go. Now you have your Gmail app password, and this is what's going to allow your agent to connect to your email to send you the emails. Now let's get your Anthropic API key sorted. So go back to Google, go to platform.claude.com. Now, to be clear, this is going to be separate from your pro subscription. So you're going to be charged differently here and it's not going to be included. But don't worry, it's still going to be very cheap. Just top up your account with like $5 and every single time you run the workflow, it's going to be a couple of cents maximum for a daily news digest. So when you're on your dashboard page here, go to the left sidebar and you'll see API keys. Click on that, go to the top right, click create key and give it a name. Let's call this, daily news, just like we did for the other one. Click on add, and the exact same kind of situation. It's going to give you a secret key. You're only going to see it once, so make sure you copy it. Again, don't share it with anyone. Go back to VS Code, and let's paste that in here. And now we're basically done. Let's give this a test with Claude. Hey Claude, I filled in the .env file, but now I want to test this manually once before I actually deploy it and automate it. Please run the workflow. So let's send that off, and hopefully nothing bad is going to happen and you'll be able to check your email and you'll receive a daily news digest. So there we go. It says workflow ran successfully. A few things to note. Looks like some feeds are unreachable and they've moved away, but we've managed to receive BBC, NPR, and The Guardian. They all worked. and the email has been sent. So let's go ahead and check that. Okay, there we go. As you can see at the top right here, Daily News Digest, Friday, June 19th. Let's open that up, and there we go. Formatted quite nicely. I'm actually quite pleased with that. So Daily News Digest and the top stories from BBC, Reuters, AP, NPR. Okay, so now that we've got that working, how do we actually deploy it and get this running automatically every day at a set time? So we can see here that Claude has confirmed the email looks good and that they can set up Windows Task Scheduler job to fire this automatically. But I wouldn't recommend using the Windows Task Scheduler to do a job like this because it requires your computer to actually be on. We want this to run even if our computer is off. So how do we do that? With a software platform called trigger.dev. So this will allow you to deploy your AI agents and your workflows so that they can run automatically at any time, even if your computer is off. And once you create an account, it'll likely prompt you to create a project. But if not, and you're taken to a dashboard like this, then simply go to the top left right here, click on New Project, and give it a name. So exactly the same like the others. We'll call this Daily News. Click Create. And we want to give Claude the ability to connect to our trigger.dev account so it can deploy everything onto here. So you'll see these commands right here get set up in 3 minutes. Simply copy this top command right here and let's go back to Claude. Hey Claude, I want to use trigger.dev to deploy my automation. And I've just copied the get started command from trigger.dev. I'm going to paste it here in this chat. I want you to install it, and I will also give you the trigger.dev API key in the .env file for you to deploy everything. So let's just paste in that command that we got on the get started. Now this is not the API key. This is just to initialize the project, but let's get that API key now. Again, this is just for Claude to be able to connect to the platform so that it can deploy everything for us. So on the left-hand side, go to API keys, and we want to copy this secret key right here. So click on copy, go back to VS Code, go to .env, and let's just create a new field here, trigger dev key. Again, you can just ask Claude to create that new key for you if you don't want to type it. I'm serious, you can just be as lazy as you want and you can tell Claude to do everything. But let's paste that in there and let's finish this prompt right here and send that off. And hopefully it'll just deploy everything and have no errors. So now it's finished and you can see that it deployed successfully. It's live with 2 detected tasks. 1 critical step remains. The cloud environment needs your credentials as environment variables. Okay, so basically everything we have in the .env file, we need to copy and paste that over into trigger.dev. So it has access to everything. So in order to do that, let's open up our .env, highlight everything, copy it, and in trigger.dev, go to environment variables on the left sidebar here, click on add new, and simply just paste everything into here and it'll automatically fill out all the fields for you. Click on development and production and click on save. And there we go. So now we have all of our keys for the production and development environment. Now everything should be working perfectly fine and it should run automatically every single day. Now, obviously it is not 10 a.m. right now. So let's just do a manual test of this just to ensure that it works. So in the test tab right here, it says you don't have any tasks to test. Oh, I see, because Claude Code pushed everything into the production environment. So if you can't see it here, go to the top left. You'll see that we're in the development environment right now. Simply go to production. And here you can see the Daily News Digest task right here. This is what Claude Code deployed. So let's run this manually using the run test button down in the bottom right. And let's see if it works. Completed successfully. So yep, there we go. So a brand new email. Let's open that up and Daily News Digest again. There we go. And hopefully this will be sending it to me again at 10 a.m. Now, if you're doing all of this for the very first time, I know it might seem all very overwhelming, but the best way to learn is to just go into Claude Code and just experiment with it. I would recommend you go ahead and create your own other workflow automations. Let's say you want to collect some information from other websites and not news sources. Go ahead and try that. Give it a go. And if Claude Code says you need some other API key, go ahead and create it from some other website and bring it in. Make it work. If you like the video and you like learning things like this, then subscribe, as I'll be covering a lot more about Claude Code, automations, and all the new AI tools as soon as they come out. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.